Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Andrea and I have been selling on Etsy for 8 years. This YouTube channel is just where we talk about Etsy, things I'm learning and trying in my own shop, my Etsy shop journey, and things that have worked for me in the past. And so if you're interested in talking about kind of all things Etsy, you're in the right spot. That is exactly what we talk about on this channel. Today specifically, we're going to be doing sort of a fun video and I'm going to be talking about the worst part of selling on Etsy. That's what we're gonna be diving into today. Okay, so to start with this video, I should clarify that I probably will have a differing opinion than most people, like a different opinion, or maybe one that you wouldn't expect me to have. And I think this is mostly because, like, the reason why I think my opinion would maybe be different than other people's is that my shop is very established. I've been selling for 8 years. We have over 18,000 sales. I have a relatively established shop. I would definitely not consider myself a new seller at this point. And so things like shipping or like any of the software, I'm so familiar with it. I really have no beef. I do have one video talking about things that I would change about Etsy. And there's like a few software things I would change, but to be 100% honest, I really like Etsy a lot. And I think their software is very, I wouldn't say robust, but it's very capable and easy. And so I'm like, I have no issues with like shipping or the software or anything like that. Also, if you're new to this channel or if you have been around for a long time, I have no issues with the fees. So I actually am of the minority opinion of Etsy sellers that the fees are actually extremely low comparatively if you look at other sites on the internet that offer similar services, even though I also believe that there really is no competition to Etsy yet. There's one that's kind of rising maybe, but as far as I know, there's not a ton of competition to Etsy yet. They have extremely low fees comparatively. And so that is why you won't hear me complain about the fees. I'm actually, I'm one of the believers that actually thinks they are quite low. And so, again, I've talked about fees on this channel. I've talked about things I would change about Etsy, my honest Etsy review, all of those sorts of things. And the one thing that you guys do need to know before I start this video is that I really truly am a huge fan of Etsy. We're not planning on leaving it ever. We actually just deleted our Shopify site and our Instagram page. We're not planning on driving any outside traffic outside of Etsy search. We just do Etsy and I'm a huge fan of it and that's not going anywhere. So that being said, clearly the worst part of selling on Etsy, in my opinion, is not that big of a deterrent for me. I'm still a huge fan and don't plan on changing anything about that. And I will definitely let you know if that changes in the future. Like if I decide that there is something better or we don't like it anymore, I'll let you know. But that is not the case right now. Also, I always say this, but I'm like pretty sure this is obvious. I have never met someone that works at Etsy. I've never talked to someone that works at Etsy. I'm not like sponsored by Etsy. This is just, I just actually really like it. Yeah, I have no relation with anybody that's ever worked at Etsy. So that's that. But yeah, I'm a huge fan of Etsy and I don't foresee that changing anytime in the future. That being said, there is one thing about, I honestly don't know if this would be considered Etsy specific. To be honest with you, I feel like in my head it's Etsy specific, but that's because I've only ever sold on Etsy. I've never tried to rank in Google search or had like a huge Instagram following that I was marketing to. So the one thing, and you can, if you are someone that does mostly Instagram marketing, let me know in the comments if this is something that you also struggle with or you sell on a different platform or in a different way than Etsy SEO. Let me know if this is something you also struggle with. But the one thing that is still hard for me is that I don't fully know which products will take off and which ones won't. I used to think that this was just a me problem, but I recently sat on a panel with 5 other like successful Etsy sellers, much more successful than me. And they were talking about, we just talked about Etsy shop stories. And this was a similar sentiment of, like, there's no way to know. Someone said, how do you list something and know it's gonna take off? And we all were like, if you know, let us know, because we don't exactly know. And there are tons of things you can do to ensure that your listing has the best odds of taking off, which we're going to talk about in this video, but there's no way to know, and that is definitely still the thing that I struggle with most on the platform. This might come as a shock because obviously I am into SEO. If you're new here, a couple years ago, maybe it was more than a couple years, I don't remember. Basically, a while back, I revamped my SEO because it was staring me in the face and I needed to do it. And the year that I decided to revamp it, I doubled my revenue from the past year. I was still a mid 5-figure seller, so it wasn't like it went from $5 to $10. It was a very, very drastic difference for my shop. And so I am a huge believer in Etsy SEO. And recently I'm discovering more about all of this. I'm constantly learning about keywords. I shouldn't say recently, just like over the past, since I've been into SEO, I've been really into it and I'm constantly trying to learn more. Anyways, that being said, it comes as a shock that I feel like I can't fully pinpoint exactly where or what items are going to take off. And I think part of that is because I have really high expectations. I also think that I have a higher standard of what is considered taking off. But let's dive into some of the reasons why I think this is the case. And another thing is that I also have an issue with none of this is an issue, have trouble knowing when something will take off. So it does seem like if you talk to any experienced sellers, sometimes things will just randomly pick up. And I've definitely been able to pinpoint that in the past to like, it was featured on Etsy's picks because they used to send you an email when that happened. I don't think they do anymore. And then another time, an item like randomly mega took off, and it was because BuzzFeed shared that item in a article of theirs. And so because of that, it took off. We got a lot of good reviews, and that item has been a popular seller ever since. I still credit all of those sales to Etsy search because I know that they found my product just through searching on Etsy and then shared it elsewhere. But that was beside the point. One of the main reasons why I do think it's hard to pin down exactly why, or I guess pin down exactly what will take off is one, I don't think that that's a thing anywhere on the internet. I think that it takes like a very, very specific scenario to be super confident. And other times I feel like people stumble upon a niche or stumble upon a product that's like, wow, that did really, really well for us. And so I don't think this is necessarily an Etsy issue, but there is one thing that Etsy has that does make it harder. And that is their analytics. I find that Etsy's analytics, they're not good. That is by far, if I could change like one thing about the platform, if I could add one thing to Etsy, it would be better analytics, and it's not close. Like that is for sure my answer 100%. If I could see the platform change, it'd be analytics. And if there was better analytics, if there was a better way to track how you're getting current sales or better way to track trending keywords and all of those sorts of things, I do think that you could have a more confident guess. I am definitely not the type of person that believes you can like 100% say, yep, this item is going to take off. And like I said, we're going to mention some things because there's been items in the past that I was extremely confident about and it worked. I know that like there's also been items in the past, like everyone has the stories that you're extremely confident about, you're really excited about, and it totally didn't work. But I've realized that when I pin certain things, the ones I'm confident about usually take off, but like it comes from like recognizing trends. So I'm going to talk about that in a minute, but that definitely the hardest part for me is nailing down exactly what will take off. And I really accredit a large part of that due to the fact that like if you are trying to list trending items or list with good keywords or whatever, find good keywords, you really have to do a lot of the digging on your own. Or with a keyword software, I've tried both. Etsy isn't going to help you much with their analytics, with their keyword analytics. I hope this is making sense. I know that I'm being like long-winded about this, but really I think that part of the problem, the biggest part of the problem, other than just being like nothing in this world is a guarantee, is that Etsy analytics are not as robust as I'd like to see them be. All that being said, what can we do to basically give our listing the best shot? There's no way to like be like, yep, 100% sure, I am positive that this will work. What can we do as sellers to give our listing the best possible chance and to take off or get a bunch of sales in Etsy search? I should clarify, all of these things are Etsy search specific. Obviously, if you have a huge Instagram following, posting about it will help it take off. But that's not my expertise. I'm not an Instagram person. I'm not a Google SEO person. I'm an Etsy SEO person. That's what I do. It's how I get my sales. And so all of these tips, or I guess strategies, are meant for, they are Etsy SEO specific. So the first thing that you can do is list items that are currently selling well for other people. So I was talking about an example earlier where I was really confident about a particular item that we were going to list. I was like, okay, I'm thinking this is gonna go over, and it totally did. It's one of our most popular products. I talked about it in our bestsellers video. Like, I shared my 6 bestsellers. It's already one of my bestsellers. It's a relatively new listing. And so basically I learned that this particular, it's my nursing jacket. If you're wondering, I'll put a little picture of it right here. It's my nursing jacket. I learned that there were other shops and just like in my embroidery niche, I have an embroidery shop on Etsy, in my embroidery niche, that this particular jacket, a fleece jacket with the RN symbol and their name, was selling really, really well. And I was like, we can do that so easily. And it totally worked. So definitely selling items that are selling well for other people, that are becoming trendy in your niche, is something that you can do. We talk about this all the time because I really think that people's inclination, and if you are an Instagram marketer or any other kind of marketer, this might be a very, very, very good strategy for you. I am talking about Etsy SEO specifically. You want to list what is already working. It is not wise, if you want to be discovered in search, to bring a brand new product to the market, though I know that we are creatives and that's what's fun. You want to list what is already proven, what is already working. I know it might seem like I'm just tossing out another listing into the competition abyss that is Etsy, and I know that feels that way, but really what you're doing is you're bringing a proven product to the market, and you didn't have to do the research to prove it other than to find that product. So very, very important to bring products that are already proven. And that's what I did with this. And that is definitely one way that you can be like, that you can ensure that your product will be, not ensure, but one strategy that you can take to make your product take off is to like look at what other people in your niche are able to sell and what is selling well for them right now, and then do that, like tailor your shop towards that trend. The ways that you can do this are keyword softwares, Etsy search, just stalking people. All of that is how you can do this, but the overall advice here is to list products that are currently trending in your niche that you are able to list. The next thing that you can do to set up your listing for success, to best ensure that your listing will get its best shot in the algorithm, is to literally just set up the actual listing for success. So what this looks like, we talk about each one of these in depth on this channel all the time. So we're gonna blitz past them. What this looks like for a listing to be like a good solid listing that's like, yup, that's going to increase your odds of selling more, is a competitive price, titles and tags completely filled out with strong and relevant keywords, compelling listing photos. They don't necessarily need to be professional listing photos, but they need to be compelling. They need to make a user that is scrolling, searching for your target keyword want to click on that. So a very compelling listing photo. What else is there? Oh, all of your attributes filled out. That is really, really important for SEO. And so basically just what I always say is a general rule for making your listing like set up for success is that when you're on Etsy listing your actual item, fill out every section as best as you possibly can and with the best content that you can get. So like as best of photos as you can get. Most relevant title words. I think after that's like all the attributes. So like fill out the sleeve length, the V-neck, all of those sorts. I list clothing, we sell clothing, and so that's what I'll always reference. A description that has relevant keywords in the description and is very, very helpful to your buyer, answers all their questions. You wanna take away any barriers for them buying that. A competitive price, all the shipping information filled out, fast and free shipping, all that kind of stuff. You want to fill it out as best as you possibly can, and that will definitely set your listing up for success and help it take off in the Etsy algorithm. The third thing we're going to talk about, even though there are obviously infinite things that you can do to sell more items, people go get college degrees for just marketing, which is only one part of selling items. So like infinite amounts, but what we're going to talk about, the last thing that we're going to talk about in this video is setting up your actual shop for like to be SEO friendly. So the way that you do this is to have a fully filled out about section with photos and video if you can do it, like type it out, team members, and then also making sure that your policies are fully filled out. Etsy really likes their shops to have their policies filled out. And to be honest with you, the about section and the policies would take you like less than half a day to fill out both of them. And so there's really no excuse. If you're going to get any SEO juice from this, it's worth doing because literally it's so easy. So just filling out your actual shop. I know it might not, if you're getting all your search, like all of your orders from Etsy search, it might not feel relevant to fill out your actual shop details because this is how I feel, like how often is someone landing on my actual shop rather than just the listing. But it's really, really important to like Etsy's back end. They like to have shops that are fully filled out. Once again, same rule applies to the listing rule, which is if you can fill out something in a spot in your shop, fill it out as best as you can. So like use your banner, use your announcement, use all of those things so that Etsy knows and Google knows as much about your shop as it can, and it's willing to recommend it to other customers. Like having the policies done in the about section done is centric to what Etsy is trying to accomplish as a platform. And so they're more likely to recommend those shops and show those shops higher in search whenever all that stuff is filled out. Okay, so those are 3 things that you can do relatively easily to kind of ensure that your listing will take off, to kind of like mitigate that worst part of Etsy that we're talking about. I deep dive into all of this in my free Etsy masterclass. It is linked in the description below, but basically I deep dive into all of this in that masterclass. So make sure to check it out. It's totally free. All in all, like I said, I would still choose Etsy over and over and over again. I still am choosing Etsy. I have no intentions of leaving the platform anytime soon. And so really, like, the worst part about selling on Etsy is just that it's not 100% perfect. But to be honest with you, I would still give it like a 4.8 out of 5. I'm a huge fan. I like Etsy a lot. So all that being said, if you are interested in learning about growing Etsy and growing your Etsy shop and kind of elaborating on those 3 things that we talked about in this video, make sure to hang out because we talk about Etsy on this channel. It's what we talk about 2 times a week, every week. And so yeah, thank you so much for being here and make sure to subscribe and thanks for watching.